They pleaded with the stars for mercy, then Earth's beasts descended. The sky above the Union world was dark, filled with strange lights and explosions. Cities were burning and smoke covered the horizons. The alien warforms moved without mercy. They were enormous, with bodies covered in metal-like skin and claws that could tear through concrete as if it were paper. Everywhere they went, they destroyed everything. The people ran, but there was nowhere to hide. Their weapons were useless. The Union's fleets tried to fight, but even the largest ships were torn apart in seconds. The leaders of the Union watched in horror. They had always thought themselves safe, but now they realized they were not. Their scientists sent messages to other advanced civilizations, but none answered. The warforms were unstoppable, and time was running out. Somewhere in the Union capital, a young officer named Elijah Reed stared at the screen in disbelief. The communications officer, a woman named Rachel Morris, tried to comfort him. "We have to keep sending the signal," she said. "Someone has to hear us, someone has to help." Elijah shook his head. "We are all alone," he said. "No one will come. They will watch us burn like they always do." Rachel frowned but did not argue. She knew he was right. The universe was full of powerful civilizations, but most cared only for themselves. The weak suffered and mercy was rare. In a small lab on a planet far from the front lines, a team of scientists worked on a strange device. It was a beacon, designed to send messages far beyond the normal range of space communications. The team hoped it might reach any civilization willing to help. Among them was a young scientist named Lucy Carter. She had always dreamed of exploring the stars, but never imagined her first journey would be a call for help from a dying world. She watched the screens as the signal left the lab and traveled into the dark void. She whispered a quiet prayer that anyone would respond. She did not know that on a planet called Earth, the signal was being received. On Earth, the message reached a hidden command center beneath the mountains. Ethan Cole and Maria Bennett, two of the leaders in humanity's defense program, studied the incoming signal. It was not the first time humans had received unusual signals from space, but this one was different. It was urgent, desperate, and full of fear. Ethan turned to Maria. "They are pleading for help," he said. Maria's eyes narrowed. "And no one else has answered," she said. She had heard stories about the Union worlds, but humans had always stayed separate. "Maybe it is time to change that," Ethan said. He felt a strange excitement mixed with fear. Humanity had always been cautious, but now the choice was clear. They could act, or they could watch another civilization die. Deep beneath the surface, humans prepared in ways the Union had never imagined. The vaults contained creatures that had existed on Earth long ago. Some were thought extinct, others were legends. They were not ordinary animals. They had been enhanced over generations by human scientists. They were faster, stronger, smarter, and fiercely loyal. Lucas Gray, an engineer, walked among them, checking the containment systems. Beside him, biologist Claire Mason studied their reactions. "They are ready," Claire said softly. Lucas nodded. "Humanity has waited for this moment," he said. The creatures roared and moved in their enclosures, sensing the excitement and tension in the air. For them, it was time to be free. Back on the Union world, the warforms continued their attack. Families huddled in ruined buildings, listening to the screams outside. Elijah and Rachel tried to keep communications open with the fleets, but every channel was filled with panic. "They are too strong," Elijah said. "We cannot hold them." Rachel reached for his hand. "Maybe someone will come," she said. She did not know who, but she wanted to believe. The lights above the cities flickered, and explosions shook the ground. Children cried, and parents tried to shield them, but nothing seemed to help. The signal they had sent was their last hope, their final prayer. On Earth, Ethan and Maria made a decision. Humanity would not ignore the call. They would act, even if the Union world was far away and the enemy seemed unstoppable. Ethan spoke to a council of scientists and military leaders. "We cannot sit and watch," he said. "We have the means to help. It is time to awaken what has been sleeping beneath our planet for centuries." The room was silent. Some were nervous, others excited. Maria added, "The creatures are ready and humans are ready. If we act carefully, we can save them." A plan was formed. Ships would carry the beasts into space, where they would be released near the Union world. Humans would guide them, and together they would face the warforms. In another part of Earth, Lucy Carter worked with a team to modify the spaceships for the creatures. The ships were larger than any humans had built before. They had reinforced compartments and advanced navigation systems. The creatures inside would need space to move, but also control to prevent chaos. Lucy checked the systems repeatedly. She thought of the Union world burning and desperate. "We are going to help them," she whispered. "We cannot fail." The creatures sensed the energy around them. They roared in response, and Lucy smiled. Humanity's secret army was awake, and it was ready to fly into the stars. Far from Earth, in the dark reaches of space, the warforms paused. They did not sense humans yet, but something had changed. The energy in the universe shifted slightly, almost like a warning. The Union fleets did not understand, but they hoped for a miracle. Elijah looked at the sky again. He whispered a prayer, not knowing who would answer it. In the quiet of the dying cities, hope felt impossible, but he held on to it. He could not see what was coming, but the stars had heard their plea. Help was on the way, though it would arrive in a form no one expected. In the underground labs, Ethan walked past the creatures, his hand brushing their thick fur or scales. Each one looked at him with intelligence and loyalty. He had trained with them for years, learning their ways, understanding their strengths. Maria followed, checking the logs of energy readings and power levels. The vaults hummed with anticipation. "Soon," Ethan said, "soon we will show the galaxy what humans can do." The creatures growled in agreement, as if they understood every word. Lucy and Claire worked side by side, making final adjustments. The countdown had begun. As night fell on Earth, the first ships prepared to launch. The world above was unaware of the events below. The people slept, unaware that humanity was about to step into the wider universe in a way no one had imagined. Ethan looked at the sky one last time before entering the command ship. "We are ready," he said. Maria nodded. Lucy and Claire entered the control rooms. The creatures stirred in their compartments, sensing movement and energy. The engines roared to life, and the massive vessels slowly lifted from their hidden docks. Humanity had begun its journey to help another world. The universe would never forget this moment. In the final hours before leaving Earth, Ethan thought about the Union world. He imagined children hiding under rubble, parents clutching them tightly. He imagined fear and desperation in their eyes. He imagined the last hope flickering like a fragile flame. "We will reach them," he said quietly. Maria touched his shoulder. "And we will not fail," she said. The creatures below responded with loud roars and movements that shook the ship. They were ready, and so were the humans. Together they would face the unknown, and the stars would witness the beginning of something no one had ever seen before. As the ships exited the atmosphere, the dark void of space stretched ahead. The stars twinkled, distant and silent, yet something had changed. The plea of the Union world had been heard, and the answer was coming. Humanity's beasts, creatures of legend and science, soared among the stars, guided by humans who had long been underestimated. The warforms would soon learn that humans did not wait for war. They created it, perfected it, and released it when the time came. And that time had come. Elijah and Rachel watched from the Union world, still fearing the warforms. But somewhere, deep in their hearts, they felt a change. The sky seemed to shimmer differently, almost as if hope itself had taken a new form. The warforms would not be ready. The universe had underestimated humans and the creatures they had kept hidden for centuries. The first part of the battle was about to begin, and the stars themselves would watch as humanity entered the stage of the galaxy. In a way no one could imagine, the ships carrying humanity's beasts moved silently through space. Massive engines glowed softly, pushing them past planets and stars. Inside, the creatures stirred in their compartments. Some were enormous, with armored bodies and sharp claws, while others were smaller but fast and clever. They had been trained to follow human commands, and they watched every movement of their handlers carefully. Lucas Gray walked among them, checking the restraints and sensors. "All systems are stable," he said. Claire Mason nodded. "They are ready," she said quietly. The creatures growled and shifted, sensing the anticipation in the humans around them. They were ready to leave Earth and face the unknown. In the command room, Ethan Cole studied the star maps and the Union world's location. The Ravagers had already destroyed much, but there were still pockets of survivors. Ethan spoke to Maria Bennett, who was monitoring the energy readings of the beasts. "We will arrive in 2 days," he said. "Are they ready for the journey?" Maria glanced at the compartments where the creatures moved. "They sense our goal," she said. "Their instincts are sharp. They know this is not just a journey, it is a mission." Ethan nodded. Humans had underestimated their own strength for centuries, but now every decision mattered. The creatures were powerful, but they needed guidance. Humans were their minds, and together they would be unstoppable. Lucy Carter moved through the ship, checking communication links and life support systems. She paused at one compartment where a massive creature rested. Its scales shimmered like metal under the lights. She reached out and touched it gently. "Soon you will see the stars up close," she whispered. The creature turned its head and made a low, vibrating sound. Lucy smiled. "I know you understand," she said. Other humans moved along the ship, making adjustments and checking calculations. Every detail mattered, for once they reached the Union world, there would be no time for mistakes. During the flight, Ethan called a meeting with the human commanders. Daniel Price and Olivia Stone joined him, along with Maria and Lucy. "We need a strategy," Ethan said. "The Ravagers are huge, but they are not organized like us. If we act smart, we can turn their strength into weakness." Daniel nodded. "The smaller creatures can distract them while the larger ones attack key targets," he said. Olivia added, "And we need to protect the survivors." "We cannot risk their lives." Maria looked at the maps. "We will approach from multiple angles," she said. "We will hit where they least expect it." Ethan listened carefully. Humans had been underestimated, but now their planning and coordination would decide the fate of another world. In the compartments, the creatures trained as if they were on Earth. They paced, moved, and tested their strength. Some practiced hunting techniques, others learned to follow commands for attack and defense. The humans guided them patiently, reinforcing behavior with rewards and gentle commands. Claire watched a group of winged predators stretch and flap their wings. "They are ready to fly into battle," she said. Lucas checked the strength of a massive armored beast. "Its scales are stronger than any metal we know," he said. The creature's power was immense, but it was their loyalty and coordination with humans that would make them unstoppable. As the ships neared the Union world, alarms began to sound. Ethan rushed to the command room. "We are close," he said. The Union world below was in chaos. Smoke rose from ruined cities, and fires burned across plains and forests. The Ravagers moved in waves, crushing anything in their path. Elijah Reed and Rachel Morris watched from the ground, unaware of what was coming. They could not believe that help was on the way, but they still hoped. Ethan spoke through the communication link. "Union world, hold on," he said. The humans below could not hear the full meaning of the message, but someone, somewhere, was coming. Hope stirred like a small flame. Inside the ship, the creatures became restless. They sensed the energy of the Ravagers and the fear of the Union people. Ethan and Maria prepared them for release. "Remember your training," Ethan said. "We act together, we act fast." The creatures roared, moving in unison as if they understood the command. Lucas checked the compartments again, making sure the energy barriers were stable. Claire adjusted the guidance controls, ensuring the creatures would respond instantly to human signals. The moment was tense. Humanity had waited centuries for this opportunity, and now it was finally here. As they approached orbit, Ethan gave the final command. "Prepare to release the beasts." The compartments opened, and the creatures moved out into space. The smaller predators floated first, using wings and jet-like devices to stabilize themselves. The larger beasts followed, guided by energy fields and human control systems. The sight was breathtaking. Massive creatures, some hundreds of meters long, moved gracefully through the void. Ethan watched, feeling a mix of pride and fear. They were beautiful, terrifying, and unstoppable. The Ravagers had not noticed yet. They were still attacking the Union cities below, crushing buildings and scattering survivors. Elijah and Rachel ran from one building to another, trying to save people. Suddenly, the sky above began to change. Shadows moved across the ruins, and a strange, heavy feeling filled the air. One of the Union soldiers looked up. "What is that?" he shouted. Ethan's voice came through a link. "Look carefully, help has arrived." The humans on Earth had unleashed their secret army. The creatures began to descend, moving with speed and precision, surrounding the Ravagers. The first contact was violent. The smaller predators attacked the scouts of the Ravagers, tearing through them with sharp claws and fangs. The Ravagers screeched and turned, surprised by the sudden assault. The larger beasts followed, crushing the enemy in powerful strikes. Humans guided every move, coordinating attacks with signals and energy fields. The Ravagers were not ready for this. They had never faced an enemy like humans and their beasts. Fear spread among them quickly, and chaos took over their ranks. On the ground, Elijah and Rachel watched in disbelief. The massive creatures tore through the Ravagers as if they were toys. Smoke mixed with energy flashes as the beasts moved with deadly precision. Elijah whispered, "Humans, they are here." Rachel nodded, tears in her eyes. The Union world had been abandoned, but help had arrived in a form no one expected. Ethan and Maria watched from the command ship, guiding every attack. Lucy and Claire monitored the beasts, making sure they did not stray from their mission. The coordination was perfect. Humans and creatures working together were unstoppable. The battle continued for hours. The creatures adapted to the Ravagers' attacks, learning their patterns and weaknesses. The humans directed them with calm precision, using strategy rather than brute force. Buildings that had seemed doomed were cleared of enemies. Survivors were guided to safety. The Ravagers tried to regroup, but every move was anticipated. Ethan smiled as he saw the first signs of victory. Humanity's plan was working. The Union world was still in danger, but the tide had turned. Humans had shown that patience and intelligence could overcome even the most terrifying enemy. As night fell on the Union world, the battle slowed. Fires burned, but the worst of the attack was over. The creatures rested, guided by their human handlers, but ready to fight again if needed. Ethan and Maria reviewed the results. "We have done what no one else could," Ethan said. Maria nodded. "And it is only the beginning," she said. The survivors below began to see hope. The Ravagers had never faced an enemy like humans. The Union fleets, seeing the creatures, realized that help had finally arrived. The stars above seemed to shine brighter. For the first time in decades, hope was real. Lucy and Claire walked among the creatures, checking their health and energy levels. Some had minor injuries, but nothing serious. The creatures responded to human touch and commands, showing their loyalty and trust. Lucas monitored the systems, ensuring all energy fields and communication links were stable. The humans had done more than save a world. They had unleashed a force the galaxy had never imagined. The Ravagers had been strong, but humanity had strategy, intelligence, and beasts that could challenge the impossible. In the quiet moments after the battle, Ethan looked down at the Union world. Cities were in ruins, but survivors were alive. He spoke to Maria, "We will rebuild and we will protect them until they can defend themselves." Maria smiled. "And the creatures will be our guardians," she said. Humans had proven their worth not through conquest but through action and courage. The universe had underestimated them for too long. Now it would begin to learn the truth. Humanity was patient, clever, and when needed, deadly. As the ships prepared to return to Earth, Ethan addressed his team. "We have done something important today," he said. "Not just for the Union, but for ourselves. The galaxy will never forget this moment." Lucy, Claire, Lucas, and Maria nodded. The creatures stirred, ready to return, but their eyes seemed to hold understanding. They had faced enemies far larger and more dangerous than anything on Earth, and they had succeeded. Humans had acted with intelligence and courage, showing that the weak could become strong when united with their own creations. In the final hours before leaving orbit, Ethan looked at the stars. The universe was vast, filled with danger and wonder, yet humanity had stepped forward, answering a desperate plea with courage and strength. The creatures returned to the ships, guided by humans. The Union world below began to rebuild, knowing that something had changed. Humans were not distant observers. They were protectors, strategists, and warriors when needed. And the stars, silent as they were, had witnessed the beginning of humanity's rise. The sky above the Union world was filled with movement. Massive creatures, guided by humans, descended through the clouds. The Ravagers had sensed something unusual, but they could not understand what it was. Enormous predators swooped from the air, armored beasts moved across the land, and packs of fast hunters chased the smaller enemy units. The humans directed the creatures with precision. Ethan Cole watched from the command ship, giving orders through the energy link. "Split into 3 groups," he said. "One attacks the center, one flanks the east, and one protects the survivors." The creatures roared as if they understood, moving with speed and purpose. It was a sight that no one in the galaxy had ever seen before. Elijah Reed and Rachel Morris ran through the ruins of a city, helping survivors to safety. Explosions shook the ground, and fires burned around them, but now the sound of the beasts filled them with hope. A massive creature, larger than any building, crushed a group of Ravagers that had cornered children near a school. Elijah could not believe what he was seeing. They are real, he whispered. Rachel grabbed his arm. And they are on our side, she said. She had thought the Union world was doomed, but now hope burned like a bright flame in her chest. The humans who controlled these beasts were unseen, but their power was undeniable. The Ravagers were about to learn that strength alone was not enough. The creatures worked together like a single mind. Smaller predators ran ahead, distracting and confusing the enemy. Winged creatures swooped down, lifting smaller Ravagers into the air and dropping them into traps. The larger beasts crushed buildings where enemy soldiers hid, making a path for survivors to escape. Ethan and Maria directed the attacks, adjusting commands as the battle shifted. Lucas Gray and Claire Mason monitored the energy levels of the beasts, making sure none were exhausted. The humans had planned carefully, knowing that intelligence and timing mattered as much as raw strength. In one part of the city, a group of Ravagers tried to regroup, forming a wall of metal and claws. A massive armored beast led by Ethan approached. It raised its head and let out a deafening roar, shaking the ground. The smaller Ravagers scattered in panic. Humans directed the attack with energy fields, guiding the beast to the weakest point. It struck and the wall collapsed. Survivors began to cheer, though their voices were small against the chaos of battle. Ethan felt a surge of pride. Humans had underestimated themselves for too long, but now their patience and preparation were paying off. Further away, winged predators circled the skies, dropping themselves onto enemy forces. They worked in teams, their movements precise. Rachel and Elijah helped civilians escape as the flying creatures cleared the paths. Children clung to their parents wide-eyed as massive beasts moved with grace and power around them. Elijah whispered a prayer of thanks. "Humans, we are not alone," he said. The creatures continued their assault, crushing and scattering the enemy. The Ravagers had never faced anything like this. Fear spread quickly through their ranks. Humans coordinated every move. Ethan, Maria, Lucy, and Claire communicated constantly, directing the creatures to attack, defend, or protect. Smaller units of humans guided the beasts on the ground, giving signals through devices and gestures. The Ravagers tried to fight back with their weapons, but they were disorganized. Their attacks missed, their formations broke, and they began to retreat in panic. The Union fleets, seeing the humans' intervention, regained courage. Their ships joined in the battle, but it was clear that the true force came from Earth's beasts. The Ravagers adapted slightly, trying to focus on the largest creatures. Armored warforms moved toward them, but the humans had anticipated this. Faster predators intercepted the attackers, biting and clawing, forcing them back. Massive winged creatures swooped from above, striking the enemy and disappearing before retaliation could come. The humans were like generals on a battlefield, guiding every movement, and the beasts responded with instinctive intelligence. The Union world had never seen anything like it. Hope became stronger with every passing moment. In one destroyed neighborhood, survivors huddled in fear. Ethan directed a large beast to clear a path. It smashed through a wall, creating an opening for them to run. A smaller predator escorted the civilians, keeping watch for enemy stragglers. Elijah and Rachel led the way, amazed at the coordination. "They are thinking, not just fighting," Rachel said. Ethan nodded. "Humans have always been underestimated," he said. "Now they will learn what we are capable of." The creatures roared in agreement, a sound that echoed across the city and shook the Ravagers to their core. As the battle continued, the Ravagers tried a desperate move. They gathered energy in massive weapons, aiming to strike the largest beasts. Ethan saw this and quickly adjusted the strategy. Winged predators attacked from above, diving into the enemy lines and scattering them. Smaller, faster creatures intercepted the weapons before they could fire. The armored beasts moved forward, crushing the attackers. Humans guided every strike, anticipating every move. The Ravagers were overwhelmed. For the first time in centuries, they faced a force that was faster, stronger, and smarter than themselves. Claire watched a young winged predator dive into a group of Ravagers and lift them high into the air. She could see the terror in the enemy's eyes. "They understand," she whispered. Lucas Gray nodded. "And they trust us completely," he said. The humans had spent years training and studying these creatures, preparing for this exact moment. Now all their work was paying off. The Ravagers were no longer invincible. The creatures of Earth, guided by human intelligence, were proving that strategy and courage could overcome even the deadliest enemy. The humans on the command ships adjusted energy fields to protect the creatures. Maria monitored their levels, ensuring they were not exhausted. Ethan sent messages to the Union fleets below, coordinating attacks. Ships fired only when necessary, avoiding unnecessary destruction. Humans had learned from history, raw power alone was not enough. Planning, coordination, and patience mattered most. The Ravagers learned this lesson too, though it cost them heavily. More of their forces fell every minute, and fear spread among the survivors of their ranks. In one part of the battlefield, a massive armored beast crushed a group of enemy leaders. The Ravagers hesitated, unsure what to do next. Ethan directed the beast to chase the remaining units. Winged predators cut off escape routes, and smaller hunters attacked from behind. The Ravagers fled, panicked, and disorganized. Humans guided every move, showing the creatures where to strike and when to retreat. The battlefield was chaos, but humans turned it into order. The Union world began to breathe again, as hope returned to those who had thought all was lost. Elijah and Rachel led civilians to safety as the last of the enemy forces scattered. The creatures followed, guarding the survivors. The humans controlling them moved quickly, ensuring that no one was left behind. Ethan watched from above, satisfied with the progress. Maria adjusted the commands to keep the creatures focused. Lucy and Claire checked on the health of the beasts, making sure they were ready for the final push. The battle was not over, but the tide had turned. Humans and their creatures had proven their power, and the Ravagers had learned that intelligence and coordination could defeat even the strongest enemies. As the night continued, the city below was quieting. The Ravagers were retreating, and the survivors were gathering in safe zones. Massive creatures patrolled the streets and skies, guided by humans. The Union world had seen the power of Earth's beasts, and they would never forget it. Ethan looked at Maria and smiled. "We did it," he said. "For now," Maria nodded. "But we must stay vigilant," she said. The Ravagers might regroup, but humans would be ready. Their patience, intelligence, and courage had changed the course of the battle. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if witnessing humanity's first true step into the galaxy as a force to be reckoned with. The creatures rested briefly, but they remained alert. Winged predators perched on rooftops, armored beasts patrolled streets, and hunters scanned forests and plains. Ethan, Maria, Lucy, and Claire continued to direct them, knowing that even a single mistake could cost lives. The Union fleets below joined in, providing support and recovering survivors. The Union world was still damaged, but the humans' intervention had saved countless lives. Hope returned, not as a fragile flame, but as a growing force. The Ravagers had underestimated humanity, and now they would remember. In the quiet moments, Ethan looked at the stars. He thought of Earth, his home, and the creatures that had been hidden for so long. Humanity had always been patient, waiting for the right moment. Now they had acted, showing the galaxy what they were capable of. The Ravagers had been strong, but humans had strategy, intelligence, and creatures that could challenge the impossible. The Union world would recover, and the survivors would remember who had saved them. Humanity had entered the galaxy, not with words or promises, but with action. And the universe would never forget it. The battle had changed the Union world forever. The Ravagers had been pushed back, their numbers shattered, and their formations broken. The cities were ruined, but the survivors were alive, and hope had returned. Humans and their beasts moved carefully across the land, guiding the survivors to safe zones. Ethan Cole watched from the command ship as the armored beasts cleared paths through rubble, while winged predators flew overhead, keeping watch for any remaining threats. Maria Bennett adjusted the energy fields to protect both the creatures and the people. The humans had not only won a battle, they had saved an entire world from extinction. Elijah Reed walked through the streets, helping families find shelter. Rachel Morris guided children past fallen buildings, her hands steady despite the fear she still felt. The survivors stared in awe at the massive creatures surrounding them. They had never seen anything like this. Some whispered that humans had summoned gods, but Ethan and Maria knew the truth. These were creatures of Earth, hidden for centuries, trained and enhanced by human intelligence. They were powerful, but it was the humans' guidance and planning that made them unstoppable. The Union world had been saved not by luck, but by strategy and courage. In a clearing outside a city, Lucas Gray checked the larger beasts. Some had minor injuries from the battle, but nothing serious. He patted the scales of a massive armored creature. "You fought well," he said. Claire Mason examined winged predators, ensuring they were ready for the next mission. The creatures roared softly, acknowledging the humans' commands. They were proud and obedient, knowing that their purpose was to protect and fight, guided by the humans who had awakened them. Ethan and Maria moved between the compartments and command posts, coordinating recovery efforts. They knew the battle was won, but the war might not be completely over. Far above, the Union fleets regrouped. Ships that had fled in fear now returned, firing at any remaining ravagers. The Union soldiers looked at the creatures with disbelief. Massive predators patrolled the skies, and armored beasts moved across the land like living mountains. Elijah spoke to a fleet commander. "These humans, they are different," he said. "They fight not just with machines, but with creatures and strategy. We underestimated them." The commander nodded, still watching the destruction and the creatures' precision. The humans had not only saved the Union world, they had changed the perception of Earth forever. Ethan addressed his team. "We need to secure the survivors and help them rebuild," he said. Maria added, "And we must make sure the Ravagers cannot regroup. We cannot leave any risk." Lucy Carter monitored communications with the Union soldiers, coordinating efforts to evacuate civilians from dangerous areas. Claire ensured that the creatures were guided carefully so they would not cause accidental harm. Lucas adjusted energy shields and compartments to protect the largest beasts. Everything was planned with care. Humans had learned from history that power without control could be dangerous. They had won, but they would not be careless. On the ground, survivors began to emerge from hiding. Children clung to parents, and families looked around in wonder at the massive creatures that had protected them. One young boy approached a winged predator cautiously, holding out his hand. The creature lowered its head, letting the child touch its feathers. Elijah watched quietly. "Humans and these creatures, they are something else," he said. Rachel smiled. "They are a team," she said. "And they saved us all." The survivors began to gather in groups, guided by Union soldiers and humans who had come with the creatures. Food, water, and medical aid were distributed. For the first time in days, the people felt safe. Ethan observed from above. The Ravagers' remaining forces were scattered and disorganized. Some tried to escape into space, but winged predators pursued them, keeping them from regrouping. The larger beasts moved across plains and forests, crushing the enemy's defenses and ensuring they could not mount another attack. Humans guided every action, using intelligence and strategy rather than just brute force. The Ravagers had underestimated the patience and power of Earth. Humanity had revealed itself, not as weak observers, but as decisive and powerful protectors. The galaxy would remember this day. As the sun rose over the ruins, humans and creatures continued their work. Armored beasts cleared roads and leveled dangerous debris, allowing Union soldiers to rebuild temporary shelters. Winged predators delivered supplies and scouted for any remaining threats. Faster hunters chased scattered Ravagers, making sure none could regroup. Ethan and Maria coordinated every move from the command ship, while Lucy and Claire monitored the creatures' energy levels. Humans had combined planning, science, and courage to create an unstoppable force. The Union world was alive because of their foresight and patience. In one part of the city, a family reunited after being separated for days. Elijah guided them to safety, while Rachel comforted frightened children. The creatures stood nearby, keeping watch. One armored beast lowered its head, letting a young girl touch its scales. She giggled, and the beast made a soft, rumbling sound. Ethan watched quietly. This was more than a battle. It was protection, trust, and understanding. Humans had not only fought, but they had preserved life and restored hope. The Union world would survive, and the people would remember who had saved them. As the day continued, the Ravagers' last attempts to attack were stopped. Winged predators intercepted any approaching ships, and armored beasts patrolled strategic locations. The humans directed everything, making sure there were no gaps in defense. Lucas and Claire worked to ensure that the creatures were rested and healthy. Ethan and Maria discussed the next steps. "We cannot leave yet," Ethan said. "The Ravagers may return and the Union world is still vulnerable," Maria nodded. "We will stay until they are safe," she said. Humanity had shown that it could act decisively and responsibly. Their intervention was not random, it was calculated, precise, and protective. The survivors began to rebuild with guidance from humans and Union soldiers. Temporary shelters were erected, food and water distributed, and medical aid given. The creatures helped in practical ways, lifting debris and clearing roads. Winged predators flew overhead, scouting for danger. Armored beasts stood guard at the edges of cities, a reminder that humans had brought not only power but also protection. The Union people began to understand that humans had been underestimated for too long. They were not only intelligent, but capable of guiding forces stronger than anything the galaxy had known. In one quiet moment, Ethan and Maria walked among the survivors. Children played near armored beasts, laughing and learning to trust them. Adults looked on in awe. Ethan spoke softly. "We have done more than fight," he said. "We have shown that humans can be protectors, not just warriors." Maria nodded. "And the creatures are proof," she said. "They follow our guidance, but they are alive. They are part of the galaxy now." Lucy and Claire joined them, smiling at the sight. Humanity had stepped into the galaxy not to conquer, but to protect. Their patience and intelligence had changed the course of history. Further away, the remaining Ravagers tried to flee into space. Winged predators intercepted them, driving them into traps set by humans. Armored beasts moved to block escape routes. Ethan gave commands through the energy link, coordinating every move. The Ravagers were trapped, overwhelmed by intelligence and strategy they could not understand. The Union fleets joined in, capturing or destroying the remaining forces. Humanity had acted with precision, ensuring no enemy could survive to return. The galaxy had underestimated humans, and now it would remember. As night fell, the creatures rested but remained alert. Humans monitored their positions, making sure they were safe and ready for any last threats. The Union world began to rebuild under the protection of humans and their beasts. Survivors thanked the humans who had risked their lives to guide the creatures. Ethan looked at Maria, satisfied with the progress. "We have done what no one else could," he said. Maria nodded. "And it is only the beginning," she said. Humanity had shown the galaxy that they were not weak, that patience and intelligence could create power that no one could match. In the command ship, Ethan addressed his team. "We will stay until the Union world is stable," he said. "Then we will return to Earth, but the message will remain clear. Humans are not to be underestimated." Lucas and Claire monitored the creatures' energy levels, ensuring they were rested and healthy. Lucy coordinated with Union leaders, making sure survivors received supplies and guidance. Every action reinforced humanity's role as protectors. The creatures were powerful, but it was the humans' planning, intelligence, and courage that had made victory possible. Elijah and Rachel looked at the survivors gathering in safe zones. Children played near armored beasts, adults rebuilt homes, and hope spread across the land. Rachel whispered to Elijah, "We were so afraid, but now we see humans in a new light." Elijah nodded. "They are more than warriors. They are guides, protectors, and guardians." The sky above shimmered with stars, and humanity's presence was now known. The Union world had survived, not by luck, but by the patience, planning, and courage of humans who had awakened their hidden strength. As the first light of the next day appeared, humans and their creatures continued to patrol, ensuring that no enemy remained. Ethan looked at the stars and smiled. The universe had underestimated humanity for too long. Now, every civilization would know that humans were patient, intelligent, and capable of decisive action. The beasts of Earth were no longer hidden. They had become symbols of humanity's strength. And the Union world, once abandoned, would remember that humans had answered when no one else would. The Union world had survived, but the skies were still filled with smoke and dust. Cities were in ruins, and forests had been burned, yet the people were alive. Ethan Cole watched from his command ship as the armored beasts patrolled the streets and winged predators circled overhead. Humans guided every move carefully, ensuring no survivor was left behind and no remaining Ravager could escape. Maria Bennett monitored energy fields, keeping the creatures safe, while Lucy Carter coordinated supplies and communication with Union leaders. The Union people could not believe what they had witnessed. Humanity had come, and the world had been saved by a force they had never imagined. Elijah Reed walked among the survivors, helping families to shelters and food stations. Rachel Morris guided children through the streets, keeping them calm as they passed the enormous creatures guarding the city. People stared in awe at the winged predators and massive armored beasts, some of whom lowered their heads to let survivors pass safely. The humans had not only protected them, but had shown them that the creatures were intelligent, loyal, and guided by someone who cared. The survivors began to see hope. They began to believe that they could rebuild, because humans had fought alongside them and had protected their lives when no one else would. On the command ship, Ethan and Maria discussed their next steps. "We have secured the world," Ethan said, "but the galaxy needs to understand our presence. If we wait too long, others will make the same mistake as the Ravagers." Maria nodded. "We will send a message," she said, "not as a threat, but as a warning. Humans are patient, but we are ready." Ethan activated the communication system, preparing to broadcast to every civilization capable of receiving it. The message was simple and clear. Humanity would act to protect the helpless, and any who threatened them or others would face consequences unlike anything they had imagined. Lucy Carter and Claire Mason checked the creatures' readiness. Even after the long battle, the beasts were alert and responsive. They had grown stronger from the experience, learning the ways of war and the patterns of their enemies. The humans had not only guided them, but they had worked with them as equals, building trust and understanding. Ethan looked at them, proud. These creatures were the symbol of humanity's patience, intelligence, and strength. The galaxy had seen a glimpse of what humans could do, and they would remember it. Elijah and Rachel helped families gather in safe zones as the armored beasts continued their patrols. Winged predators flew in formation above the cities, ensuring that no threat remained. The survivors were beginning to rebuild their homes, guided by Union engineers and supported by human teams. Children watched the creatures with fascination, learning to respect and trust them. Ethan knew that this moment would stay in the memory of every survivor forever. Humans had arrived as saviors, and their presence had changed the balance of power in the galaxy. As the communication beacon was activated, Ethan spoke into it. "To all who listen, humanity has acted to save a world that no one else would protect. We do not seek conquest or worship. We act to preserve life and to uphold justice where it is needed. Let this be a warning to any who threaten the innocent. Humans will respond, and our reach is greater than you can imagine." The message echoed across space, reaching distant worlds and civilizations. Some listened with fear, others with respect, and many were shocked. Humanity had revealed itself not with words alone, but with actions that could not be denied. In the cities below, survivors began to understand the scale of what had happened. The massive creatures moved with discipline, following humans' guidance. Armored beasts lifted rubble from streets, cleared blocked roads, and protected citizens as they rebuilt shelters. Winged predators delivered supplies to remote areas and kept watch for any remaining threats. Humans had shown them not just power, but responsibility. Every action emphasized that humanity did not fight for domination, but to protect those who could not protect themselves. Ethan and Maria walked through a city, observing the creatures interacting with survivors. A massive armored beast lowered its head to allow a small child to climb onto it, while winged predators swooped down to chase away smaller debris and hazards. Ethan spoke softly to Maria. "We have changed this world forever. They will never forget who saved them." Maria nodded. "And the galaxy will not forget either," she said. The Union leaders, who had been skeptical at first, were now deeply grateful. They understood that humans had the ability to act decisively, intelligently, and with care for life. It was a combination the universe had never seen. Further away, the scattered remnants of the Ravagers tried to flee. Humans directed winged predators to intercept, while armored beasts blocked escape routes. Ethan gave commands calmly, guiding each creature to ensure no enemy could regroup. Lucy monitored their positions, ensuring the smaller predators moved with speed and precision. Claire adjusted energy fields to protect the beasts from attacks. The remaining enemies were overwhelmed and captured, ensuring that the Union world could rebuild in peace. Humanity's intervention had been complete and absolute, leaving no chance for future attacks from the same forces. Elijah and Rachel helped survivors understand how to work with the humans and their creatures. "These beings are not dangerous to you," Rachel explained, pointing to a group of smaller predators. "They follow the humans' commands and will protect you." Children reached out to touch the beasts, laughing as the creatures responded with soft rumbles or gentle movements. Elijah smiled. Humans brought them here and they trust them completely, he said. The survivors began to feel that life could continue. The fear that had dominated their days was replaced by hope, trust, and gratitude. Humanity had done more than fight, they had inspired. Ethan addressed his team privately. "We will return to Earth soon," he said, "but we must leave a message of protection and warning. The galaxy needs to know that humans will act where others do not." Maria nodded. "Our patience has been a strength," she said. "And now our action is proof." Lucy, Claire, and Lucas Gray worked together to finalize the communication. The creatures remained alert but relaxed, trusting their humans completely. Humanity had revealed a secret the galaxy had never known. Intelligence combined with patience and preparation could create power stronger than fear or brute force. As the survivors began to rebuild, the humans prepared to leave. Armored beasts lifted debris and constructed temporary shelters, while winged predators delivered supplies to distant areas. Ethan looked at Maria and said, "We have done what no one else would. Now the galaxy will know." Maria nodded. The Union world had been saved, not by luck or random chance, but by the planning, patience, and courage of humans and their creatures. The people below would remember, and the stars above had witnessed the rise of a force unlike any other. In the final moments before leaving orbit, Ethan activated the communication beacon one last time. His voice echoed across the stars. "Humans do not seek war, we seek life and protection. But if mercy is ignored and the innocent are threatened, humans will act. Our patience is long, but our power is real. Remember this. The creatures of Earth are part of us, and together we are unstoppable." The message spread, reaching distant civilizations, some of which had once ignored pleas for help. They now understood that humans were patient, intelligent, and capable of decisive action. The galaxy would remember humanity's arrival. Elijah and Rachel helped the last of the survivors move to safe zones. The children waved at the creatures, who responded with soft growls and wing flaps. The humans guiding them smiled, knowing that their work had saved countless lives. Ethan watched from the command ship. "This is not the end," he said, "but it is the beginning." "The galaxy now knows who humans are." Maria stood beside him. "And they will think twice before harming the helpless again," she said. The creatures remained vigilant, a symbol of humanity's power and patience. The universe had witnessed something extraordinary. As the ships prepared to leave orbit and return to Earth, the Union people gathered to watch. The massive beasts, once feared and unimaginable, were now protectors and symbols of hope. Humans had arrived when no one else would, acting with courage, intelligence, and responsibility. The survivors understood that humanity was different, strong, patient, and willing to act where others hesitated. Ethan and Maria watched the stars, knowing that this moment would be remembered in history. The galaxy had learned that humans could not be ignored. The last words of the communication beacon repeated across the stars. "Humans are patient, humans are intelligent, humans will act." The creatures of Earth, guided by human hands, had shown the galaxy what true strength looked like. The Ravagers had been defeated, the Union world had been saved, and humanity had revealed itself as a force unlike any other. The survivors below smiled, children laughed, and the creatures roared softly, as if understanding that their mission was complete. Humans had come, acted, and left a message that would echo forever. Mercy had been granted, and humanity had made its mark. Ethan and Maria looked at each other as the ships began the journey back to Earth. "We have done what was needed," Ethan said, "and the galaxy will remember." Maria nodded. The creatures settled into their compartments, alert but calm. Lucy and Claire checked systems one last time. The Union world had been saved, and humans had proven their strength. Patience, intelligence, courage, and preparation had triumphed. Humanity's reputation had been established. The stars would never forget the day Earth's beasts descended.